Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are taking a close look at one of the biggest stories in international relations right now. United States President Donald Trump has announced plans to visit China from March 31st to April 2nd, 2026. This would be his first trip to Beijing since 2017 and only the second time he meets Chinese President Xi Jinping in person during his second term. But here is the twist. As of today, February 24th, the Chinese government has said almost nothing official about these exact dates. The White House confirmed the schedule, but Beijing has stayed silent on confirmation. There are also reports about what each side wants from any meeting. We will break down the views on whether this visit will actually happen, the arguments for yes and for no, what could come out of a successful meeting, and how both leaders might react if it falls through. Stick around because this could shape the world economy and global security for years. Before we go further, please subscribe to my channel. We need your support to continue to bring you honest reports and analysis of major events around the world. Let us get started. First, some quick background to set the stage. Relations between the United States and China have been tense, but managed since Trump returned to the White House. In October 2025, the two leaders met in South Korea and agreed to a temporary trade truce. That deal paused some extra tariffs on Chinese goods and eased restrictions on critical minerals like rare earths coming from China. In return, China promised stronger action against fentanyl precursors and to keep buying American farm products. Fast forward to early 2026 and things got complicated again. The United States Supreme Court ruled against several of Trump's broad tariffs, saying he overstepped his authority. That decision took away one of Trump's biggest sticks in trade talks, and analysts say it handed China more leverage heading into any summit. On February 20th, the White House told reporters that Trump will fly to China at the end of March for 3 days of talks with Xi. Trump himself has called the trip a grand display and even said it will be the biggest welcome in the history of China. He points to his personal rapport with Xi, calling their relationship excellent. The agenda is expected to cover extending that trade truce, avoiding new tariff wars, soybeans and energy purchases, fentanyl cooperation, and of course the sensitive issue of Taiwan, where the United States has been delaying some arms sales, possibly to keep the visit on track. Now the key point the user asked about. The Chinese government still has not said anything publicly confirming those March 31st to April 2nd dates. When Reuters first broke the story, the Chinese embassy in Washington simply declined to comment. On Chinese state media outlets like Global Times and CGTN, they have reported the White House announcement, but only note that talks are ongoing and that leader-to-leader diplomacy is important. Back on February 12, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said Trump had expressed his wish to visit in April during a phone call and that Xi had reiterated the invitation. But no joint announcement, no schedule confirmation, and no big welcome from Beijing yet. This silence is pretty standard for China on high-level visits. They like to control the timing and optics and usually wait until everything is locked in before going public. There are also reports floating around about demands from both sides. It is not a single public list from China, but analysts and news outlets have pieced together Beijing's priorities. China wants the United States to roll back more tariffs after that Supreme Court win, ease export controls on advanced chips and artificial intelligence technology, and strictly follow the One China principle, meaning no more advanced arms sales to Taiwan, which Beijing calls a red line. Chinese diplomats have also urged an end to unilateral American measures and more cooperation in areas like agriculture, energy, and counter-narcotics. On the American side, Trump has repeatedly listed what he wants from China. More purchases of United States soybeans to help American farmers, Boeing aircraft, energy exports, stronger crackdown on fentanyl, and reliable access to rare earth minerals without export threats. Taiwan is also on the table, but from the United States' perspective, Trump wants to keep pressure without fully provoking Beijing. So both capitals have clear wish lists, even if they are not printed as official bullet points. Now the big question everyone is asking: will this visit actually materialize? Let us look at the views for yes first. Most analysts and diplomats believe the trip will go ahead. Here is why. Both leaders have strong personal incentives. Trump wants visible wins he can sell to voters, especially ahead of midterm elections. Big photo ops in Beijing buying more American crops and claiming he tamed the trade deficit would be perfect. Xi, on the other hand, can use the summit to show the world and especially Asian neighbors that China can handle American pressure, stand as an equal, and keep the economy stable. The trade truce is already working in the short term, and extending it makes sense for both economies. Markets hate uncertainty, and a cancelled summit would spook investors. Plus, the two men have chemistry from past meetings. Trump often praises Xi, and China has kept communication channels open. Chinese state media has stayed measured, not hostile, which suggests they are preparing for talks, not confrontation. Scheduling around China's Qingming Festival in early April is doable, and sources in South China Morning Post say discussions on exact dates are still happening. Overall, the momentum from the October truce and recent phone calls points strongly toward yes. Experts like those at the Center for Strategic and International Studies say neither side wants escalation right now, so a meeting is the smart play. On the other side, there are voices saying it might not happen or could be postponed. These no views are smaller, but worth noting. Some point to China's continued silence as a sign they are not fully committed yet. Beijing might be waiting to see if Trump offers real concessions on tariffs or Taiwan before locking in dates. The Supreme Court ruling has made Chinese officials feel stronger, so they could demand more and walk away if Trump refuses. Taiwan remains explosive. If the United States approves big new arms packages right before the trip, it could derail everything. Chinese netizens on sites like Guanxi show mixed feelings, with many skeptical or even unwelcoming. Comments range from calling it a face-saving trip for Trump to jokes about using robot honor guards. If public mood in China sours or if hardliners in Beijing push back, the visit could slip. Timing is tight, only 5 weeks away, and any last-minute dispute over agenda or protocol could push it to later in the year. A few Western analysts also warn that if core issues like technology restrictions stay stuck, the whole thing might be quietly shelved to avoid a disappointing outcome. Assuming the visit does happen, and most signs point that way, what could come out of the Trump-Xi meeting? Expect pragmatic short-term deals rather than grand resolutions. Number 1 is likely an extension of the trade truce for 6 to 12 months. This would freeze extra tariffs, give Chinese companies breathing room, and let American farmers lock in big soybean orders. China has already hinted at buying more United States agricultural and energy products, which helps Trump politically. There could be fresh commitments on fentanyl, with China promising even stricter controls on chemical exports. On rare earths and critical minerals, Beijing might agree to keep supplies flowing without sudden bans. In technology, both sides might announce pauses on new export bans or investment restrictions to calm markets. On Taiwan, the United States could quietly slow arms deliveries while China tones down military drills around the island. The meeting itself will be highly staged, with a huge welcome ceremony, red carpets, and state banquets just like 2017. Trump will probably call it the best meeting ever, and Xi will frame it as China standing tall. Markets would likely rally on any positive news, and the relationship would settle into what analysts call competitive stability. Long-term rivalry over technology and the Pacific continues, but at least the temperature drops for a while. Now let us flip to the scenario if the visit does not materialize or gets postponed indefinitely. How would Trump and China react? Trump is not shy about expressing frustration. He would almost certainly go on Truth Social or hold a press conference blaming China for bad faith or weakness. Expect phrases like "they do not want to make a deal" or "China is taking advantage of us." He might follow through on that new 10% global tariff he mentioned after the court ruling, or accelerate other trade measures against Chinese goods. Domestically, he would rally his base by painting Beijing as the problem and push Congress for more restrictions. On the world stage, Trump could lean harder on allies to decouple from China faster. For China, the reaction would be more measured but firm. State media would run stories saying the United States is unreliable or acting in bad faith. Officials might quietly accelerate self-reliance programs in technology and resources. Beijing could strengthen ties with Europe, Southeast Asia, and the BRICS countries to show it does not need Washington. Retaliatory steps might include tighter rules on American companies in China or selective tariffs on United States exports. Both sides would see stock markets dip on the uncertainty, and global supply chains would feel fresh pressure. Overall, relations would cool, but probably not explode into full trade war because both economies are too intertwined. The pause button would just stay pushed longer. So what does all this mean for the rest of us? United States-China relations remain the most important bilateral tie in the world. Whether this March trip happens or not, it will set the tone for the next few years. A successful meeting brings short-term calm and deal-making. A no-show raises tensions and forces both countries to prepare for tougher competition. Keep an eye on the next few weeks. Will Beijing issue that joint confirmation? Will new details on soybeans or Taiwan leak out? The answers will matter for your investments, your job, and global peace. Thank you for watching this deep dive. If you found it useful, please hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Drop your own thoughts in the comments. Do you think the visit will go ahead, and what deal would you like to see? Let me know. Until next time, stay informed, and we will see you soon.